Well, I want to start this video by saying thank you to all of you that dropped a like on my last tutorial video where I showed how broken and busted up my microphone was, because partially in thanks to you and your support, I was able to get a new microphone, and that has just relieved so much stress from me, so thank you. I also want to say if I'm talking like I have a little bit of a lisp, it's because I'm wearing my bite guard, I have bruxism, and I clench and grind my teeth and shift my jaw a lot, and it hurts. So if I'm talking like Michael Cera for this entire video, forgive me. What's up guys, Kier here, and I realized it has been about 6 months since the last time I did a Q&A video, and I also realized that I had a backlog of exactly 100 questions that I have not answered. Now obviously I'm not going to get to answer all 100 of those questions today, but I am going to get to some of the ones that I think are the most interesting or fun to answer, or just things that I think you guys might get a kick out of. And in typical Kier Gomes Q&A fashion, stick around to the end of the video because I will be announcing a new giveaway that I am doing, and you guys are not going to want to miss it if you want to win some free cards. All that and more coming up, but before we get into it, please do drop a like on the video. Of course, I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't yet, because we have all kinds of fun on this channel and I don't want you to miss it. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
As always, I'm going to be putting the question along with a shout out to the person's name somewhere on the screen. And this first one comes from Chinu Ebi. And I doubt I'm saying that correctly, but Chinu wants to know, Kier, if there was one thing you could change about your brand, Slow Hands, what would it be? That's an interesting question because Slow Hands obviously is my baby, my pride and joy, and it's a company that I built with my best friend Nick all the way up to my exact taste and specification. So there's not a lot that I would change about what we've already done, but something that I would like to change going forward is the ability to produce more decks faster. When you're an independent company like we are, it takes a lot of crowdfunding to get these things printed, a lot of negotiating and a lot of planning. I would like to get to a point where we could put out the deck and just have the confidence that it's going to sell. We got a channel regular here, Rambo Racing. Rambo comments on many of my videos, almost every single one of them. So thank you for that. You are an absolute legend, Rambo. Rambo wants to know what advice I would give somebody looking to get a Kickstarter campaign started. Now, assuming that this is your first Kickstarter campaign, the big thing that I can tell you is when your campaign launches, the most important thing you can do is communicate with your backers. This is something that I've been kind of bad at in the past, and every time I drop the ball on communication, I end up paying the price for it. So always make sure you're communicating with your backers. They're your customers. Those are the people that are making your dream possible. They deserve all the attention that you can give them. So always make sure you're communicating. JRex919. JRex wants to know, hey Kier, would you ever consider having one of your decks printed by anyone other than the USPCC? I would assume not, being that they are the best. Well, that's a great question, JRex, and thank you so much for submitting it. But actually the answer is yes. Not only have I considered it, I fully intend on printing a deck of cards with Hansen Chien. If you guys don't know this, Hansen Chien prints basically the best decks. I mean, a lot of my favorite decks are printed on Hansen Chien stock. I really love the feel of it. They're decks that last a long time and they feel good the entire time. So yes, I do have plans in the future of printing a deck in Taiwan with Hansen Chien. All right, moving on to Justin is 87. If your handle is like a sentence about you and you're 87 years old, then thank you so much for visiting my channel. I don't know what we would have in common, but I really hope you enjoy it. But Justin wants to know if I could work with any designer on a new deck project, who would it be? Now, here's the thing, okay? There's a lot of designers that I would love to work with. Off the top of my head, I mean, I've already worked with my two favorite designers, which is Nick and Luke. But past that, I mean, I would love to work with Tomas Pinston on a Gemini deck, and that's something that may or may not be a possibility in the future. But I think at this point, I would love to work with Brad Fulton. I would love to do a deck of cards with Brad. If you guys know anything about my history with Brad, then you already know. But if you haven't, I have a playlist that you guys can check out called the Fulton Tapes. And it covers this recent history that I have with Brad, and I think would probably explain a lot of why I would be so keen to work with him. So Brad, if you're watching this, let's do a deck together. I'm dead serious about that. Hit me up. Cardologist wants to know, and by the way, this was a question that he asked on a previous video, and I was doing a different setup, but it looked a little bit like this, and he wanted to know if I changed my setup because I'm planning on doing a podcast. And the answer is yes. Actually, I'm going to say one more thing. Would you guys want a podcast from me? Would you guys be interested in seeing a Kier Gomes podcast? I do have tons of ideas, may or may not have already have a few episodes filmed and edited and ready to go. I would definitely be curious to know if you guys would watch a podcast, because if so, I mean, we could do it at any time. Nicholas Lloyd wants to know, as an Arizona guy, not sure if you live in AZ, but I heard you mention it recently, where is a good place in Phoenix to buy dope cards? I actually made a whole video about this. I don't know, and let me know if this is you. I actually talked to somebody that was in Phoenix about this. I did a video where my wife and I drove all the way up to Strawberry, Arizona, or Surprise, Arizona, some random city like 3 hours north of me, because we heard that they had Blue Seal casino style playing cards from the USPCC. So we went there and I found a bunch of cool Blue Seal stuff, like a lot of vintage casino decks, you know, B's, and a lot of like pinochle decks and stuff like that. So that's a cool place if you're looking for the rare stuff. But if you're just looking for in-person places to buy playing cards, I mean, it's getting thinner by the minute. You know, I mean, it's very difficult to come across good playing cards that you don't already own anywhere. But one place I would always check is Bookman's. Anywhere in Arizona, if you check out Bookman's, it's kind of like a thrift store, consignment store type thing, but they've always got good shit. I love this name. Pew Pew. Pew Pew wants to know, what qualities does a deck need to have in order to stand out for me? You guys know me, I'm a little bit of a card slut. It doesn't take a lot to impress me, but I will say, if I'm gonna go out of my way and spend money on a deck, if I'm gonna spend my own money to purchase a deck of cards, I'm usually buying it specifically for the designer, right? So like if Luke comes out with a deck of cards, because I love Luke and his work, I'll buy that deck of cards. So I think who's behind the deck is important. But if we're going just on design, let's say it's a new person I've never met, I think what would really make a deck stand out to me, I look for colors that I enjoy, things that are, you know, either some kind of aesthetic that I like pink, or if I like a certain shade of orange and I see that. So color is really important, but also I like decks that have a performance utility to it. So cards that have standard-ish faces, I prefer. I'm not crazy about the fully custom faces, but I also like decks that have white borders. That's just like a thing for me, I guess. Okay, this next one's from Rhonda. Yeah. That is an awesome name, Rhonda. Yeah. Well, Rhonda wants to know if I could pick one magic effect, one card control, and one deck of cards, and one card flourish for the rest of my life, what would it be? So this is going to be definitely in categories. Hopefully I'm in focus here. Sometimes my microphone steals the focus, even though I have it set to track my face. So hopefully. All right, so let's break this down. So the first one card magic effect. This is difficult because I kind of go through phases, but my favorite impromptu card effect that I will do for the rest of my life for anybody that needs a card trick is Back in Time by Jay Sankey. One card control, I mean, naturally you would want to stick to whatever's the easiest to do or the most invisible to a spectator. Lately, I've been really fond of the shuttle pass for controlling a card to the bottom of the deck. One card flourish would probably be Hexa, which is a card flourish that I invented for the mono Hexa deck with Luke Wadey. That's my favorite flourish. I think it looks great, and it's just a nice one. I would say actually either that or the card spring. You know, you can't forget a good card spring. And then one deck of cards, it's impossible to say. And I'm not going to choose one of my own decks, and as a result of not being able to choose one of my own decks, I'm just going to grab this one, the Tally-Ho Circle Backs. I use Tally-Hos pretty much anytime I'm not using one of my own decks. These are my favorite. Okay, next we got one from Dylan Moody. He's a Moody boy. From Dylan, he wants to know, would I ever include my family on the face of the court cards? I'm assuming that what you're asking is would I put people like from my own family on my own decks? And the answer is yes, I would consider it. The only reason that I haven't done it yet is because, one, you always want to make sure that you're flattering people, right? So, for example, the great example would be one of the only people that I would trust to draw my face on a court card is Daniel Schneider. He knows how to draw me in a way that's flattering but still looks like me. And you don't want to offend anybody. Like I wouldn't want to put a picture of my mom as you know, like the Queen of Diamonds or something, and then have her think that it looks terrible. So it really depends. Yes, I would do it. I would need to find the right person who could represent my family in a way that would make them look as beautiful as they are. All right, we got one from Vanno Nym. Vanno Nym wants to know what keeps me inspired to do magic and cardistry daily. The reason why this is a tough question is because I'm not inspired every day to do magic or cardistry. There's days when I would rather do anything but that. But I think what really keeps me going and what keeps me interested in magic and cardistry is just that I don't know, that I've had a little bit of success doing it, and it's fun for me. The people that I meet, they're interested in the same things as I am. It helps a lot when the people in your life like the same things that you like, because it motivates you to continue doing those things. Sage Carmen wants to know how the pandemic affected me performing magic. Now, I actually stopped performing magic before the pandemic. I think as soon as I got into producing cards, and then I kind of found a niche for myself that wasn't in performance. I mean, the truth is I've never been the strongest magician. I'm a good performer, I think. But you kind of got to have both. You got to be a skilled magician and a skilled performer. And I think I always leaned really heavy into the performance aspect. And as a result of that, I just kind of would get burnt out. And I never felt that my magic was good enough to continue doing that. So I do have some stories, though, that I want to get to. If you guys want me to start a podcast, by the way, I do have some stories about magic performances that might help explain why I quit performing magic, because there's some good ones in there. All right, Juan Ramos wants to know if I somehow woke up with $10 million in my bank account and the taxes for it were already paid, what is the first thing inside the magic community that I would do? You know what? This is an easy one. If I had $10 million, I would produce a slow hands deck that was performer friendly that costs under $3. That's the first thing I would do. The reason that I would do that is because there's not that many decks that are custom and accessible in such a quantity that you can justify selling them for cheap. I would love to make a $3 deck of cards that everybody could get. So if I had $10 million, the first thing I would do would be put out a deck of slow hands cards that everybody could get a piece of, everybody could get a deck of for less than $3. Great question, Juan. Travis Coffee wants to know what the biggest obstacle I faced was when I released my deck. Well, I've released 3 decks, the 4th one coming out this Saturday, and every deck has its own obstacle. The first deck that I did was Slow Hands V1. The big obstacle with that one was definitely getting funding. We were very, very slow. We almost did not get funded, and then we did, and it was incredible that we did. But I think that really that was the biggest obstacle with that one. With V2, we didn't do a Kickstarter. We actually got funding through my friend Alex Pandrea. I think the biggest thing with that one was the promotion. The biggest obstacle I had was promoting the deck so people knew where to find it and how they could get it. It was kind of a whole thing. I don't regret any of the decisions we made, but that was definitely an obstacle and a learning experience for me. Generation 1, which was definitely the deck so far that I've done that's made the most money. The biggest obstacle with that one, I mean, honestly, I really think the biggest obstacle I had with that one was that it was overwhelming how many customers we had, so it was very difficult for me to continue communicating with people. I was getting flooded with questions and comments and things that needed to be fixed, so keeping up with the orders really was the big one, which is a good problem to have. I'm not complaining. Sebastian Vincent wants to know how much time I invest into designing a new deck. This depends. I've designed way more decks than I've released, that's for sure. I would say it really depends. I mean, the first Slow Hands deck, me and Nick were able to get together, and we kind of, once we started rolling, it didn't take only a few months before that one was ready. Slow Hands V2 was ready a lot faster because we already knew what we wanted. Generation 1, the design came together extremely fast once me and Luke were able to figure out what we wanted to do. But I've also, I'm working on a deck right now with Nick and Jay Sankey, and we've spent a year working on that one because there's some more complicated, there's a marking system, there's all kinds of things, but I think that, it just depends. Slow Hands V3, which will be coming soon. Very excited to be able to say that. We've been working on that deck for a long time, and I don't want to overhype it or whatever, but sometimes it's just hard to find the right thing. You know, some things are more difficult than others when it comes to a design, and I think especially if you're trying to design something fresh and new that's never been done before, you got to take your time. It takes a long time. Michael Morris wants to know if I could have a rubbish superpower that is slightly cool, what would it be? I already know. If I could have like a random bullshit superpower that was just only kind of cool, it would be the ability to control the temperature of any liquid. For example, if I'm at the bar and somebody's being a jerk, I can make their drink boiling hot before they drink it. Or if I'm at a coffee shop and I run into a Karen who's being rude, I can make her coffee extremely cold on the way out, which I think would just be funny to do and gauge people's reactions. It's also completely harmless. Michael Evangelista wants to know, if I design a deck of cards based on any one of my hats, what would it be? Oh, that's an easy one. I'm wearing it. This is, that's a Generation 1 hat, bud. Yeah, sorry for my hair. Oh my God. So yeah, that one probably. But other than that, I would love to do like a San Francisco Giants deck. If I could get licensing for that, then hit me up. Omar Baton wants to know, if I could be a fly on the wall of any person at any moment in time, who would it be? Or would I be a snail on the wall instead? I think if I could go back in time, check this out, maybe like this. I think I would go back and be a fly on the wall for like a conversation between Houdini and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the Sherlock Holmes stories. Those are two people that I look up to very much in my life and for very different reasons, but I think that level of genius, I mean, that would be, to me, that would be like the equivalent of, you know, I don't know, of Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali having a conversation about sports. You know, it's just something that you would love to witness. Good old Don T wants to know if my wife helps me with editing or filming or my deck productions. She helps me in other ways. I do all of my own filming, all of my own editing. All of that is me, but she helps keeps me sane through all of that. This stuff is very frustrating sometimes. It's also sometimes a little bit depressing. You know, you spend a lot of time on a video, nobody watches it, you get sad. She helps me be significantly less sad, and she's very supportive of what I do, and she watches my videos, which, I mean, to be honest, it's all the support I really need. By the way, hun, if you're watching this one, I love you, and you're right down the hall right now, probably hearing me say that. This one is weird, because I've actually never been asked this, I don't think. And it's such a kind of simple question, but Think Again wants to know who my favorite card magician is. And obviously, Alex Pandrea, bud. Come on. So my favorite performing card magician is Juan Tamariz. That's living. If we're talking dead, probably Ricky Jay. But my favorite card handler, my favorite magician just in general, absolutely Alex Pandrea, the boss himself. Merlin Benny, that is an amazing name. Merlin Benny. If that's your real name, comment down below and let me know if that's your real name, please. But Merlin Benny wants to know what country I've always wanted to visit and why. Well, I mean, my favorite country is probably Mexico, but if I could visit a country that I've not been to, I would love to check out maybe Ireland. And if not Ireland, I think it would be insanely cool to go to Japan. I think that would be sick. Tang Tang wants to know, what is my most treasured memory with anything or anyone? Absolutely would have to be my wedding day. It was just the most mind-blowing thing. I got married young. And I'm still happily married, so we're winning there. But when you're young, getting married is like a whole other thing, I imagine. I've never been married as an old person, but I was in my very early 20s when I got married, and it just seems so surreal. You're doing such a big adult thing, and everybody that you know is there to cheer you on and watch you do your day. So I think that's really special. I'd have to say that that's one of them. But if we're excluding that, and you guys want something more maybe magic or card related, I would say probably the first day that I met Alex. For those of you that don't know, Alex Pandrea is not only a friend of mine, he's also somebody that I work with. And the first day that I met him was a FaceTime call that we had. It was our first meeting, and it was very special to me. It was super important, and I walked away from that just feeling like my entire life, changed. So, there's that. Devil's Fangs wants to know what inspires or motivates me to create and upload YouTube videos. This one's easy. My whole life I've wanted to be a filmmaker. I love making movies. I'm outside of YouTube. I make small, short little films for a living, and it's something something that I will always continue to do, whether people watch them or not. For me, what motivates it is if I and maybe 20 of my closest friends and family can enjoy something that I've worked on, that's enough for me. Maybe not enough for my wallet, maybe not enough for my bills, but it's enough for me to be happy, and it's enough to motivate me to continue doing it. Thomas Barrera wants to know how many editions of Slow Hands I would like for there to be. Well, I can tell you for sure there's at least 3 for sure. I would love to see as many Slow Hands decks as I could possibly do. Like I said, Slow Hands is a company that means everything to me. It's my entire Magic persona, my entire story, my entire specific love for Magic is put into Slow Hands and will continue to be put into Slow Hands. So when you're buying a Slow Hands deck, you're buying phases of my life as it pertains to Magic. So, the Starters Edition represented kind of my initial jolt into Magic when I was a little kid. The Tortoise Backs represented kind of that big gap in between where I was progressing into something else. You guys will just have to wait and see what V3 has. All right, this next one is probably my favorite question of the bunch. So Will Random, sick name, wants to know, am I disappointed that they canceled the Gambit movie, Gambit, the Marvel X-Men superhero? And if they did make a Gambit movie, who would have been the best person to play him? He says Sean O from Orbit, since he loves kicking and has great card timing. Honestly, there is no better casting choice than Sean O as Gambit. He's got the hair. He's definitely got the chops, both, through martial arts and card handling. But if I had to pick an actor, I thought Channing Tatum was a bad idea. I have no problem with Channing Tatum, but he's not Gambit to me. I think who would make a sweet Gambit would be Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the It remake. That guy is not only extremely handsome and kind of unique looking, I know for a fact can pull off a New Orleans accent, so that's very important as well. Bonkyhead99, that's also you guys have the coolest YouTube names, by the way, wants to know what my favorite type of Magic is to watch. If I'm a spectator, I love coin Magic. I love watching coin Magic so much. I could watch Eric Jones do his thing for hours without getting bored. But also, I love comedy Magic. So watching people like Jay Sankey, or even more recently, I love watching Jason Marr. If you guys don't know who Jason Marr is, we've done a few videos together on my channel and his. He's an Australian magician, street magician in, I think, Sydney. His type of Magic is exactly the reason why I think Magic has a chance to be cool again. And Jason, if you're watching this and you hear that, I really mean what I'm saying here, and let's do another collab, dog. Come on. My guy, Batman Stu. Now, Batman Stu, okay, not only a buddy of mine through the community, this is a guy that will go out of his way to comment on my videos and comment on my Instagram posts. This is a guy that's active in the community. So if you guys aren't down with Batman Stu, get down with him. Go check him out. I'm gonna leave his Instagram down below, and I don't usually do that, but Stu, thank you. He wants to know, if I could live inside of any fictional movie, city, or world, where would it be? I would say perhaps Tim Burton's Batman universe. If I could have I don't know, some kind of cool like superpower. If I could be like Robin or something, I'd probably be like, I don't know, who's like a big fat villain. I'd probably be Penguin or something. So maybe either that, or my favorite movie of all time is a Wes Anderson movie called Rushmore. Now they live in like a really boring part of what's supposed to be Ohio, I think. But I think it would be cool to exist in that world, just because so many of my favorite characters, in movies come from that world. So maybe that or Ghostbusters would be sick. Justin Caruso wants to know MCU or DCEU, and what is my favorite movie from each side. I mean, I prefer DC comic books, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. I prefer MCU in terms of movies. Obviously, they make far superior movies to anything that DC has done yet. But I think DC is on a trajectory right now to exceed the MCU. I think with the Flash movie coming out, I think with Pattinson's Batman movie, obviously the Joker in 2019 was like a super success. The Suicide Squad by James Gunn. I think DC is finally figuring it out, and I'm going to put a lot of faith in them. But my favorite MCU movie so far is probably Guardians of the Galaxy. If not that, then I would have to say perhaps Thor Ragnarok. And I say that because I like the funny ones. Now, I'm a comic book reader. I'm a comic book fan. My favorite superhero of all time is The Flash. So I think the upcoming DC Flash movie would have to be my favorite. But if we're going with an existing DCEU movie, the only one that I really, really enjoyed was Shazam. And if not that, then perhaps like the Snyder cut of Justice League. Jason Solis wants to know what my favorite non-alcoholic drink is. Well, I'll tell you what, I have not had an alcoholic drink in months. I don't know. I've been really into kombucha lately. I've been trying to get a little healthier, lose a little bit of weight. If you guys haven't noticed, by the way, I've lost 20 pounds since my last Q&A video. Okay. Yeah, I would say kombucha at the moment. Manisha Kumar wants to know, do you have brothers? I didn't know. Do they like cardistry and magic as well? Yes, so I do have brothers. One of them, Jake, is into cards. In fact, we got into magic and cardistry together. He doesn't really do it anymore. He's a musician, but it is something that he still fiddles around with, and we have a lot of fun jamming whenever we get to hang out. And finally, Jeremy Hamby wants to know what the strangest gift I've ever received was. And to that, I have to say, receiving the gift of life from my parents has been the strangest thing, and I can't, no matter how hard I try, seem to get rid of it. All right, guys, that is all the time I have for today. This was a lot of questions, so if you guys want to know more about the giveaway, I'm going to make it very simple. All you need to do to enter, like the video, leave me a comment with a question for my next Q&A video, and of course, subscribe to my channel with those notifications on. In my next Q&A video, I will be picking a winner, and that winner will be receiving one of each of my decks of cards. That includes the Slow Hands Starters Edition, the Slow Hands Tortoise Backs, and the Generation 1 playing cards by myself and Luke Wadey. As well, if you guys are interested in checking out my fourth deck of cards, the Spectacle deck, it's a collaboration between myself, Jay Sankey, and Nick Nisco. That deck will be available on Kickstarter this Saturday, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the answers to your questions, and of course, leave me a comment. I can't wait to do another one of these. I love you all, and of course, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I know I will. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.